In the forest next to the village, Raon Sieghart stands with Kane Sieghart, the top trainee of the 6th training hall, who asks, "Why are you here?" This question could also be directed at him. Raon thinks about how he heard Kane join the GTH training hall later than most, probably because of some injuries. However, he looks to be in good shape now. Kane considers that Raon seems to have a good skill in sword fighting. He tells Raon that they are going on an orc raid mission. "Why are you here, then, Raon Sieghart?" he asks. Raon, with a little confusion, replies, "We are also part of this orc raid." To which Kane shows surprise, saying, "We got the same mission. I didn't know about this." The night before they leave, at a place called Lemaire, Raon heard that Kane's students did really well in their last task. "I heard about it, too," Raon admits. "They're really young, however they managed to defeat those mountain bandits." Rimmer, sitting close by, exclaims with excitement, "That's exactly what I am saying. I trained them, but I am truly impressed. Should I recruit them for the orc raid mission because of their awesome performance in the last task? I bet they would finish it quickly." Yet, a voice cuts in, "No, the 6th training hall will be doing that mission." Main explained that, unlike the 5th training hall, which mainly focuses on individual training, the 6th training hall is a lot more in line with the overall mission goals. Recently, everyone in the 6th training hall got through the tough hell week of training without any failures. This means we are ready to take on that mission. The instructor of the 6th training hall, Maytun Rimmer, asked, "Are you worried or something because my students have been getting more attention lately? Why not just send both groups on the mission?" He also questioned whether it was smart to send 2 training halls at the same time for the same task. "We have to get rid of those orcs sooner or later anyway, so it makes sense to send both training halls together. If the 2 groups are competing against each other, they will probably do better and work more effectively, don't you think?" Maytun agreed, saying, "Okay, I will ask for permission from the Patriarch." Rimmer then showed his excitement, saying, "I can't wait to see how this goes." The story shifts to Raon and Kane, where Buren says, "There must have been complications in the communication." He then claims, "You guys can go back. We can undertake this mission independently." This statement leaves Cyan and his friends shocked. Cyan, feeling a burst of anger, replies, "I can't just ignore your words, Buren Sieghart. Have you become so arrogant during your time in the 5th training hall?" He adds, "The 6th training hall is better for missions that need teamwork than the 5th. I am sure this mission will be too much for you all, because of your little experience with working together." Raon stands still, thinking, "I am sure Lemaire knew that both training halls would be involved. However, why didn't he tell us earlier?" Lemaire believes that experience is really important. "If I think about this, then this mission is a lot like real situations. But when it comes to monster raids, teamwork and strategy are crucial, and we are lacking in those areas." What if his goal was to put us up against the 6th training hall? This would help us recognize the improvements we need. However, it could also create confusion. Although it sounds like a good idea, it might not be effective because we might struggle without guidance. Raon put one hand over his mouth, thinking about the situation. Yes, it seems that this idea is valid. That snake-like elf definitely sparks curiosity. The other people should learn too. However, there is something my mom told me before I left. I want you to show that you are a swordsman who protects others. This thought has been on my mind ever since Raon stepped up and said, "Calm down, both of you. Are you just going to waste time on pointless arguments? You know a solution won't come from this. Why don't we make a wager instead?" Buren replied, "What? What do you mean by bet? We don't know what kind of trouble we might face, so why waste our energy?" Raon replied that they don't want to give up on this mission, nor do you. For this task, I'm sure there will be many orcs. Since it has been called a raid, it's likely that a strong orc will be there too. We should start a wager to see who will be the commander for this mission. Raon explained that we will first take out the orc leader to create chaos within their ranks, and then carry on with the rest of the operation. Is that not a reasonable strategy? This idea made Burin and Kane a bit nervous. However, Raon further said that if the commanding team faces difficulties, it will just provide an opportunity for the opposing team. Although this plan seems risky, it could also be effective. Raon asked, "Does that sound good to you?" Cyan, nodding with a simple yes, encouraged the group to start their efforts at the mountain. Seeing a bunch of people working hard, Martha commented on how simple the rules were. Either wipe out the other team completely or grab their flag to win. This way is way easier than having everyone fight each other. Raon then suggested a plan. However, Martha doubted if they needed one, saying, "They are just a bunch of clueless people." In a quick move, she ran off, yelling, "Found you," while other teams were ready with their weapons. She said there was no need for fancy strategies against such losers and then jumped right into the fight. Raon, shutting his eyes, knew the battle had started. Even with all her energy, she eventually lost in the fight and turned to Raon, asking for advice on how they could win. Raon answered, "I will explain our way to victory." A group of people is talking, but their conversation is suddenly cut off by Martha, who comes back and says, "You will regret it if you speak ill of us again." Her next moves are aggressive, and this surprises the guys around her. They can't believe it and shout, "What the hell?" as their attention changes out of nowhere. Burin also jumps in, saying, "It's the preparatory stance we assumed earlier." In reply, the others shout back, "Counter it as we have rehearsed." Burin then rushes forward, claiming, "You are fools." This change in tactics catches Martha off guard, and she exclaims, "What? His movements have altered so swiftly." The way their fighting styles are changing is clear. However, it's also confusing. One among them, equally surprised, asks the big question. What the heck happened to cause such a change in their fighting style? Martha goes back on the attack, successfully landing a hit and happily shouting, "Raon was right." This moment brings back a memory of Raon's earlier words. "Why do you think we lost when we are each stronger than them?" Burin jumps in, explaining, "It's about information and tactics. The 6th training hall had already figured out our personalities and skills. They made their plans based on that. However, we didn't prepare well, thinking victory was assured. Because of this, we faced a sad defeat in a match we could have easily won." Dorian, filled with fear, asked, "Are we going to lose now?" Martha, angry, grabbed Dorian by the neck and warned, "Don't jinx it." In reply, Dorian, flooded with emotion, apologized through tears. Raon jumped in, saying, "Well, even if we can't call it a complete loss, we have really used up a lot of stamina and aura. It is a fact that we are at a disadvantage. However, they don't have all the information and tactics." Burin then asked, "Raon, do you have an idea?" He explained, "House Sieghart, the top trainee of the 6th training hall, has a really sharp sense of sight and intuition." Raon went on, "Because of that skill, he noticed you coming from far away and sent trainees who could counter your strategies to fight you." Martha, thinking hard, said, "Raon Sieghart, my strengths are in power and endurance, but my attacks are pretty straightforward." So, the swordsmen that were sent were picked for their toughness against her strikes, meant to wear down her aura. Burin, although quick, shows skills that are, unfortunately, pretty rough. So, he sent out swordsmen who have more cunning. Raon then asked, "How can we get a victory?" The easiest answer would be to change the people we send out. However, I don't think you all want to do that. Martha shouted loudly, "I don't want that. I have to win." However, Burin felt the same way. Rona jumped in, saying, "You all need to change your way of fighting. The enemies you faced were really tough, but there should be some weaknesses because they aren't good at moving in their own space. So, find a weak spot and attack there. Burin, you are especially vulnerable to opponents who rely a lot on their instincts in battle. Nevertheless, those enemies are usually more open to clever tactics. You have to let go of your usual fighting styles for now and trick them." Martha said, "That idea sounds good, but haven't you been here this whole time?" Burin replied, "You make it seem like you've just been watching our fights." Rona agreed, "It's true that Kane has really sharp senses, even better than a beginner's. However, his ability to see things is superior. They are all doing well. It seems that Ronan is not destined for defeat either. This is interesting. Cain asked Rona, "Shall we start?" Rona thought about it, because the circumstances have changed a lot from before. Cain had no choice. However, he needed to find the flag. Cyan showed his curiosity about the sudden drop in our performance, which made you tell them to fight differently, right? The claims about you not being recognized by the other trainees were, in fact, unfounded. However, this confrontation is going to end here. Cyan got ready to fight Raon and said he heard your aura is fire type. His sword glowed with a fiery aura, which shocked Raon and made him think. Is Cyan's aura also fire type? Cyan said, sadly for you, that he has the highest level of aura in the fire category. Moreover, he mentioned he has more aura than most official swordsmen. Because of this, you don't have much of a chance against him. Raon jumped in, asking why everyone in this household has to talk so much before a fight. As his whole body burst into flames, it showed that he had also activated his fire aura. The battle started and Raon announced he would prove that his fire could be stronger than Cyan's. Cain, surprised by Raon's speed, thought that even with Raon's flames, his aura couldn't possibly compare to his own power. However, he still recognized Raon's strength. Although Cain was sure of his superiority, they both started their fight, their swords clashing fiercely against each other. Raon managed to make a small cut on Cain's face, and he said that his flames are weaker. Later, Raon hit Cain again. However, he blocked that attack. Because of their auras, a big explosion happened and Cain was found lying on the ground. Raon claimed that his fire is strong. Martha and Dorian's arrival at Raon shocked Dorian deeply when he unexpectedly ran into Cain. After asking about Cain's presence there, he saw Cain standing by a tree, thinking about how to change one's luck in battle, especially when losing. This involves taking down the enemy's leader. Were you aware this would happen? Burin agreed with Dorian's view, seeing how gullible they both were. It wasn't just my mistake. If it hadn't been for your guidance today, we would have definitely failed in the GTH training hall. Martha, thinking about everything, said, I don't like that he's right. However, it's undeniably true. If your advice had not worked, I would have taken back my promise to follow you. But we pretty much succeeded because of your help. Raon noticed that they recognized him as the top student of the 5th training hall and would continue to follow his orders without complaining. It seems they have shown some growth from this situation. Such improvement is commendable. This, indeed, is the 5th training hall that I am familiar with. Raon addressed the assembly with an encouraging affirmation about their efforts, stating, Good work, everyone. However, it is clear that the recent confrontation showed the danger of being intoxicated by one's own confidence and arrogance, because it highlights the consequences that follow when someone acts without thinking strategically. Had this situation been a real conflict rather than just a bet, the results could have been fatal. It is crucial that the lessons learned from today's experience stay in our minds. Cain, hidden behind the tree, looked at Raon and thought that he exceeded his expectations a lot. He clearly has more achievements in both mental strength and fighting skills. Initially, I thought that the 5th training hall was filled only with people who had inflated egos. However, I now see that I was the one being arrogant. Cain came out and said, I learned from this, Raon Sieghart. You have taught me an important lesson. I must not lower my defenses until the very end. I also need to come up with a backup plan just in case the main strategy fails. I thought victory was certain, especially since we knew so much about your group from the beginning. However, we not only faced defeat, but I also experienced a personal loss in a duel against you. Although I suppose I was just too shocked by this outcome. Cain reached out his hand to Raon, thanking him for saving his life. Raon sees himself as better than his bloodline peers. After a quick handshake, Raon said, Yes, I have learned a lot from this. In response, Cain confirmed, We will support your mission, just like we said before. 2 weeks from now, Raon and his team found themselves sitting on the edge of a mountain. next to a tiny village that had no famous local goods or tourists. It seemed like just a place where a few people farm to make a living. This mission, however, is not really special. It's just a normal job needed because of occasional monster sightings. Raon thinks, although, why does this strange feeling stick around, like an unseen watcher has been looking at him the whole time? There doesn't seem to be a teacher with them. Instead, the mood feels really creepy, as if something is trying to figure out how to fight them. The best thing to do right now is to trick that mysterious presence while staying alert. Raon turned to Burin, saying, I have a request to make. Then, he told Burin to take charge for this mission. Burin, surprised, said, What are you talking about? Raon responded during the first mission. It was just me and Raon fighting against the Snow Tiger Claw bandits. Because of this, it would be better if you all took charge of the mission this time. Burin jumped in. Didn't you say on the first day of training that you would eventually catch up to me? Martha snapped back. You meant that, didn't you? So, show me what you have learned so far. You really meant that, right? Show me what you have understood until now. Burin then said, Alkicht, I will prove that I have improved. I will lead this mission, he told the team. You all heard, right? We are now following Burin's orders. They agreed completely. Raon said, Martha, I will explain the reason later. However, just follow my direction for now. To which Martha replied, You didn't need to say that to me like that. I told you that I would follow your orders, and that is exactly what I will do. Raon asked Wrath, Wrath, you see the people watching us, right? To which Wrath agreed, feeling the same way. He then said, It makes sense because you took my traits. Raon then questioned, What about where they are? How many are they? Wrath snapped back, As if I'm going to tell you his location. You can figure it out on your own. Raon thought this answer was unkind. It seemed to suggest just one person. Wrath felt confused upon hearing this, but Raon explained, You said his, not their. This repetition made Wrath a bit angry. Raon thought, however, that we can't just assume there's only one observer. It's possible that there's only one person watching us, but he could have a group nearby. I have to stay alert. I feel that this task won't be easy. The story then shifted to a man dressed in a suit, his face hidden. He asked, Where did they come from? The other person replied, They are the Siegharts. The man in the suit responded, One of the 6 emperors? They weren't very strong, however. The man said, I think they were just trainees. Without an instructor around, I believe this is their second mission. The superior asked, Didn't you notice them? The man replied, Of course not. I'm sure they didn't even see me. The superior then said, Well, I don't think some unimportant trainees could get past your stealth skills. The man answered, However, we took control of the orcs, so I don't understand why they sent trainees. The superior replied, I'm sure the villagers noticed the chaos and asked for help, saying there was a rise in the number of orcs. I thought we would find the mana stone quickly, but it seems we got too relaxed. The man stated, We couldn't find the item. I guess it must be in the village. Should we start an attack right away? The superior answered, No, we will stay on standby for now. The man said, Yet, this is a good chance to get rid of the trainees. The superior, now wearing an orc mask, declared, It is easy to eliminate the trainees. However, they might find out about the mana stone if we act carelessly. That would lead to a bigger loss. Let them defeat some monsters. Make them think they have finished their mission. The boss now wears his mask and turns into an orc, he mentioned, and, well, he will hit the village once they leave. However, he will destroy everything in his way. This creates a big problem because no one sees it coming. Although they think they are safe, danger is nearing. But they must be careful because the orc has a lot of power. As night falls, the people gather around a table, eating food. Raon thinks about Burin Sieghart's state. At first, I had worries about his health. However, he seems to be doing much better than I expected. I see his strong efforts to get better. But it's not just Burin who fills my mind. Burin and the trainees can face the monsters on their own, even when I'm not there. The main problem is with the person who is supposed to watch over us while we're at the edge of the village. Although I can't say this for sure, I noticed their presence fade into the mountains when we got to the village. Is it the Sieghart family watching us, or could it be someone else entirely? We will find out the truth by tomorrow. The scene shifts to a different place where Buren, as soon as he touches the ground, senses the monsters are really close. An old man tells Buren that the monsters show up at this time every year. However, this time there are 3 times as many as usual. We are not ready to face such a large group. To explain, we see that there are more than 100 monsters, which means the total might exceed 200. The problem goes beyond just numbers, though. It is very likely that you are not familiar with the large forest area around here. We will try to create a helpful guide for you, because it's important that you don't get lost in the hilly landscape. He is seen as the fastest young man in the village. However, I believe he will help out. We notice that Cebu, the mountain guide Kanbar, has a cough and is thinking about the situation. I realized something was off when the chief came to see us last night. However, the thought of me guiding the Sieghart trainees brings up some challenges. Raon, sitting next to him, comforted us, saying, "Don't worry, we will make sure you get home safely." Buren turned to everyone there and explained that orcs usually have the upper hand against other monsters in fights. But goblins and kobolds often use sneaky strategies, whether it's with poison or other tricks. Although even a small injury can be serious, it's crucial to stay alert. All the people there agreed with Buren's opinion. He designated Training Hall 6 and requested that everyone encircle the area to remain alert for any monsters attempting to flee. Kane acknowledged this directive, affirming, "Leave this to us." Consequently, Buren proclaimed that we would commence the raid against the monsters threatening this land, intending to demonstrate the formidable power of the Siegharts. As they began to run, Wrath approached Raon, exclaiming, "Those idiots, what a foolish endeavor!" The group had been diligently preparing for an ambush until this point. However, they suddenly began to scream out of nowhere, thereby exposing their location. This unfortunate turn of events undermines the entire purpose of an ambush. Raon, observing the chaos, remarked that they were merely attempting to conquer their nervousness through shouting. Such a mistake is understandable, particularly because it is their inaugural raid mission. Wrath considers this. Even he, too, should be on his first monster raid mission. Instead of succumbing to anxiety, he is focused on the broader implications of their endeavor. On the opposing side, the orcs have emerged, roaring menacingly, while members of the Sieghart family start their attacks. Martha gets her sword ready, declaring her preparedness to face them all. Buren advises that they should get rid of the goblins and kobolds first, before they turn their attention to the orcs. A fellow warrior warns others that the orcs are changing direction, and, indeed, the orcs are ready to attack Raon, who could easily become their next victim. Raon asks Kanbar if he is injured. He gets a reassuring response that he is okay now. Ultimately, the team manages to slay the orc leader, and they now plan to deal with the remaining threats. Raon and Kanbar kept talking, and during this, Kanbar shared a story from his childhood. The chief climbed the mountain and then came back with a red jewel. Raon asked where this jewel is now. However, Kanbar told him that most people don't know it's buried under the chief's house. Raon was shocked by this news, thinking that the situation was actually worse than he had thought before. If Eden doesn't find the Mana Stone in the mountain, they will burn down this village.